effect of this is that it will blow apart the whole rotten structure that I've been talking about. This is not government of the people, by the people, for the people. Starmer represents government of the blob, by the blob, for the blob. And when it fails, it will be the blob that failed, not Britain. I think we should be talking about cancelling the Prime Minister, shouldn't we, really? This is the sort of thing, and I'm making a bit of a joke of it, but it's actually a very close line to being serious. This is the kind of thing that got people put in jail back in June.
Keir Starmer comes across less like a natural political leader and more like a meticulously scripted performance brought to life. Watching him attempt to guide the UK feels like watching someone take on a highly technical role without truly understanding its foundations, yet doing so with unwavering confidence. There's a persistent flatness to his presence that drains any sense of inspiration. He functions almost entirely on process and procedure, but there's no warmth, no spark, and no compelling vision driving him forward. He shows up, says the right things on paper, and still manages to leave audiences feeling disappointed and disconnected every single time.
I met Keir Starmer, I'm delighted to say, but we have, as they say, previous. At the time of my cancellation back in 2020, Starmer was the only person in public life who wanted poor little Darren Grimes and me to be charged under the Section 6 of the Public Order Act, which I think carries mandatory imprisonment and up to 6 years. But is the measure of the man, the measure of his nastiness, the measure of his desire for vengeance, the measure of...
Then there is David Starkey, a historian renowned for sharp intellect and relentless focus, who didn't merely criticise Keir Starmer, but methodically took him apart, piece by piece. Starkey exposed how Starmer's reputation for competence rests on surprisingly fragile ground, calmly stripping away the polished exterior to reveal what lay underneath: thin analysis, recycled talking points, and a leadership style devoid of anything genuinely original. There was no need for theatrics or raised voices. The force of the critique came from its discipline and clarity. It was measured, exacting, and quietly devastating in its impact.
Of up to 6 years. Right. Now, even the Times, that was not very sympathetic, wrote a third leader saying, this is mad. One public figure supported that charge. Sir Keir Starmer,
of course,
ex-DPP. And this is where they are a real, genuine and...
Keir Starmer's greatest weakness lies in his belief that he is a kind of moderating saviour, uniquely destined to calm Britain's political turbulence. In reality, he appears to stand for almost nothing at all. His leadership lacks direction, courage, and creative force, hollowed out by an obsession with seeming sensible at all costs. In trying so hard to project reasonableness, he neglects to fight for anything that genuinely matters. There is no fire, no daring, and no clear vision for where the country should be heading. That constant need to appear measured and moderate results in policies that feel empty, forgettable, and utterly uninspiring.
Starmer. This constant fact that he harks on about being chief prosecutor. He's not, he's called Director of Public Prosecutions. But chief prosecutor, what does it make him sound like? It makes him sound like a figure out of Stalin's Russia. In Starmer's eyes, he is clearly of impeccable character.
David Starkey didn't need to raise his voice or turn the moment into a spectacle. He simply articulated what many already sense: that Keir Starmer isn't genuinely leading anyone at all. Instead, he is managing impressions, smoothing away conflict, and sidestepping risk at every opportunity. Each decision seems to pass through layers of committees, cautious wording, and prolonged hesitation before emerging stripped of urgency or conviction. Under Starmer, politics feels drained of life and intent, resembling a long, tedious workplace email that manages to say very little while still demanding your full attention.
It is a genuine emergency. There is a constitutional emergency. There is a political emergency. These things are manifestly malfunctioning. The proposals, the new Labour, the renewed Labour, actually it's just old New Labour proposals of Gordon Brown, will make a bad situation even worse. They will destroy what little faith there is in politics and politicians. Yes, but with a very heavy heart. Yes to a referendum.
Keir Starmer appears to believe that sidestepping strong positions makes him look cleverer and more electable, yet dullness and invisibility have never inspired anyone. He seems to operate on the assumption that if he stays still long enough, the public will eventually mistake restraint for authority. Instead, he leaves people uncertain and disengaged, unsure whether he is carefully reflecting, endlessly hesitating, or simply unwilling to act. That ambiguity doesn't project seriousness or strength, it erodes trust. Nothing about his method sparks confidence, enthusiasm, or belief in leadership. And without those qualities, excitement never has a chance to take hold.
Starmer's quite extraordinary. He's like a kind of speak your weight machine. What are they? We have working people. We have dear me. I've heard them so often. My father is a toolmaker. All these phrases constantly recurring, almost as though it's a kind of computer. It's almost like I've used an old-fashioned phrase, a speak your weight machine. He's a kind of AI, but he's not. AI would do it very, very much better. Very much better. Because Starmer is something different.
His habitual flip-flopping only deepens the problem. One day Keir Starmer hints at sweeping reform, and the next those pledges quietly dissolve into vague, corporate-sounding phrasing. He speaks as though he's apologising in advance for choices he hasn't yet made, with the only real consistency being inconsistency itself. David Starkey clocked this immediately and made it clear he wasn't buying the act. Each time Starmer opens his mouth, the energy drains from the room. He doesn't connect with people so much as dissect them. Everything feels calculated, as if he's measuring reactions instead of listening, and put him in an ordinary social setting and the mood would turn awkward almost instantly.
The problem is, and this is, we're going back to Starmer and whatever, the left in particular just believe in a culture of words. The absurd dispute about Elon Musk and doing that, or rather that, which shows he's a fascist. Here is a man who has just spent £44 billion making sure that X has freedom of speech. I don't think freedom of speech was very high on Adolf Hitler's list. But it's this, the entire left is about words and...
Remarkably, Keir Starmer has even managed to make Jeremy Corbyn seem energetic by comparison. Because at least Corbyn appeared to believe in something, even when people strongly disagreed with him. Starmer, by contrast, comes across like someone permanently stuck in a political training programme, where every policy is provisional and every response carefully stage-managed. And yet he still expects public support. Support for what, exactly? Too often his message feels reduced to little more than "I'm not the alternative." He doesn't project the presence of a leader shaping events. He feels like a placeholder, occupying space until someone else eventually turns up to give it meaning.
Starmer, as the Baldwin biography makes clear, has fundamental and indeed fundamentalist believes. He is a believer in the supremacy of law. That doesn't actually mean the supremacy of law, it means the supremacy of lawyers, of people like him. He believes that basically human society should be constructed according to rules made by people like him, which are enforced by people like him, and prevent anybody else who is not like him from having a say in anything. And it's through the device of this strange thing called human rights law.
Rooted in serious thought and historical perspective, David Starkey refused to let this slide, systematically peeling back Keir Starmer's carefully constructed public image, layer by layer, to expose a deeper emptiness beneath. Behind the scripted phrases and polished delivery sits a figure who stands for little beyond the avoidance of offence, yet avoiding offence is not leadership at all. Refuse to stand firm and you end up bending to everything. One week Starmer speaks in the language of workers, the next he reassures bankers. In one moment he gestures toward climate responsibility, in the next he quietly sidesteps powerful interests. Starkey's verdict was unmistakable. This isn't strength or prudence, it's collapse disguised as caution.
What I'm really struck by, much though I detest this government, the situation that it's finding itself in is actually starting to force it to think. It's doing it very reluctantly. The whole bias of the Labour Party is it is the welfare party. It pretends to be the party of work, yes, but in fact it's the party of...
Meanwhile, David Starkey arrived armed with facts and historical context, pointing out that Keir Starmer's greatest supposed achievement appears to be making people forget that Labour once stood for firm principles at all. Starkey didn't attack with anger or theatrics. He dismantled Starmer calmly, guided by history, reminding viewers that Britain has known real leaders, figures with courage, clear convictions, and the resolve to defend them, and by that standard Starmer seems utterly out of place. His instinct to sit on the fence leaves him paralysed on every major issue, whether it's Brexit, the economy, immigration or education, all following the same drearily predictable cycle. He says something vague, waits to gauge the reaction, issues a clarification that says even less, blames poor communication, then smiles awkwardly and moves on, with nothing settled and nothing resolved.
So Starmer and I have previous. How's he gone so badly wrong? Well, several people, if you think of Rosie Duffield's magnificent letter, she points out that this is a man who is now Prime Minister of the country who had no political experience. He is also not simply a lawyer. Everybody said to me, how on earth can this man be a QC? How can he be so, well, A, dumb, and B, how can he be so bad at public speaking? Nasal whine. Well, I suppose he can't help that he comes from Reigate, but that's or indeed, my father was a toolmaker too, but I did something about it, I suppose. But what has gone wrong with Starmer is that A, he's not very...
By now, many Labour supporters no longer react with anger, but with a quiet, weary disappointment, having hoped for leadership and received only hesitation. Keir Starmer's brand of opposition politics feels thin and unconvincing, to the point where even his political rivals seem surprised that this is the figure they are meant to fear. When he appears in public, the preparation is unmistakable. Every line sounds rehearsed, every pause carefully engineered, every gesture pre-approved. Yet for all that calculation, his speeches consistently land with a dull thud. There is no passion, no genuine connection with the audience, and no sense of urgency about the moment Britain is in. What comes through instead is exhaustion and an unmistakable lack of belief in the very words he is delivering.
Starmer's something completely different. He's our first totally non-political Prime Minister. He embodies something, I think, completely new in British politics that we've never seen before, and we're already realising just how dreadful it is. What Starmer is the incarnation of all the fundamental changes that have taken place in our constitution, a kind of behind-the-scenes revolution since Blair. Starmer has a real set of values. He believes in the rules. Theresa May believed in the rules, but Starmer's were a much more structured, much more focused set.
David Starkey didn't need to shout to make his point. He simply held Keir Starmer up to the audience as he truly is. What became clear is a leader who doubts every firm conviction, whose primary political talent lies in avoiding clear answers. His career appears built on being just compelling enough to remain visible, yet never strong enough to genuinely challenge anyone or drive change. Britain requires decisive leadership, not mere comfort and moderation. Yet Starmer continues to speak of rebuilding trust, as if voters have forgotten the many promises he abandoned on his path to Labour leadership. The effect is not renewed confidence or hope, it is growing indifference, a sense that the applause he seeks has long ceased to matter.